Welcome to the first episode of High Ticket Snails with me, Charlie Free, and my co-host, Gary Garland. How are you, Gary?
Good. How are you, Charlie?
Doing amazing, mate. Doing amazing. It's great to be here with you on the faster pace and not be a snail at this very gifted day of our first draft and first episode of the High Ticket Snails podcast.
Yeah, for
sure. You can't see much going on right now.
You know, it's one of those things. I think this has been coming for a long time, Charlie. We've known each other for quite a while, and we've built a lot of, I guess, animosity around all of this to build out, you know, the ability to help people. You know, I think that's what our passions are, and I think this is just going to take it to the next level.
Yeah, I think that's a good stepping stone. And I put some little links in here. I don't know if it's coming up on your end, but why are we here, Gary? What was the necessary reason that we had to? Not just should we do a podcast, we had to do a podcast. In your own words, what the is going on for you?
Yeah. No, for sure. I think we had to do this because, like, we've seen so much in this high ticket space that we have such a unique outlook on the high ticket space and how we operate in it that we needed to share that story and how we can help people be more successful long term in it. You know, I would say, 95% of people, kind of piecemeal it and run through, and they're not successful in the way they want to be. And a lot of that is because they don't understand high ticket sales. They don't understand the process. And I think we had to do this to really show the good, the bad, and the ugly,
Yeah, that's a good phrasing and verbiage for it, because I said that to you the other day, the good, the bad, the ugly. I think it's good to cover how high ticket sales can be amazing, but I also think what the space is needing, again, like with many things, is the raw, authentic insight of what it actually looks like. Because most people, the good thing about a podcast, it can be somewhat long-form format. You can sit there, listen to it for an hour, and catch the details that you don't catch in marketing, because you get the opportunity to touch on it. It's not necessarily to say that marketing is always doing a deceptive job, but you can't actually cover what you need to in the marketing. So I think it'd be helpful, at least even on this first one, how many people might stumble across this brand new, wondering, what the fuck is high ticket sales? What would you say it is?
Yeah, in my personal opinion, high ticket sales is anything that is going to generate you a source of income that a singular sale could almost be life-changing, right? You're making, close to $1,000 a sale. Those are your high ticket sales. If you're able to close 10 of them a month, that's 10 grand a month pretty easily. So, anywhere in that range is generally something that is high ticket. It's costing the consumer, 5,000 plus usually. And that's your high ticket. You're selling a high cost item for self-benefit of gain financially.
Yeah, I don't really have too much to add to it. I think sales being the key word, sales being some service, some product is being offered, keyword offered here. This is where you hear all about, you don't really see many businesses. You see fuck tons of offers. There's very few businesses in the space. There's masquerading as businesses, but anyone, me and you, Gary, in the next 60 seconds can come up with a new offer, and we can offer that at a high ticket price. I would say anything above 1,000. As soon as you start to get into four figures, depending where you're at, some people might see three figures still as a high ticket product, but you get middlemen or women that are going to bridge that sale. And I mean, that lies in the nature of what will come out of these episodes. Is high ticket sales is for individuals that are looking to be that middleman or woman or trans person. They're looking to be that individual in the center that has a conversation with an individual, either through outbound dialing, which you're going to get a lot of that. Hello, is this Gary? And that's never how I'd ring Gary if I was selling him. But there's a lot of outbound dialing. There's a lot of different dynamics that we'll cover. But it's selling shit online. And I mean, there is an abundance of opportunity to do it. If you are absolutely brand new and you don't know what sales is, sit back, enjoy it, have fun. Don't worry about it too much. But I imagine most of this is going to be landing upon the ears of the people that are already in the industry. So I think it's a segue, Gary, because it's coming to me naturally. How did you get into high-ticket sales?
Honestly, it started with a layoff. I mean, my background is, has been sales most of my life. And, I started in insurance sales, back, when I was 19 years old. Sold that for 5 years. I've sold tech. I've sold all kinds of different things. But I went into back operational, the side of it, and really focused on I was working in a $100 million company. We were selling a ton of tech, but I was doing all the analytical work and really helping grow the business. And when I got laid off, I'm like, you know what? Like, why am I not selling this stuff? Like, why am I not selling a product? And I came across an Instagram, for some high ticket sales coaching programs and things like that. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to dive in and do it. And I was 100% in, right? I landed an offer within like 3 weeks of joining that course and going through the process. But I will tell you, it hit me like a ton of bricks too at the same time, because it was a completely different sales world. So that's kind of how I got into it in a simple form. But I guess, Charlie, tell us about you. How did you get into it?
Yeah, I found it, without going into too much of the backstory of what was really a catalyst for me to take money seriously. I'd been an entrepreneur. I had sold my own consultancy. So I'd sold packages in USD. It would have been around 2,800, maybe $3,000. I'd sold my own consultancy packages where I'd work with people for 90 days. But I've done so many different things. When I was 12, I was in parkour, and I would say that's where, even just before that, like I was leading teams. So I was captain of a sports team. I was into parkour, so I was doing coaching. And then like naturally over those 20 years, I was coaching, counseling, therapy, hypnosis, psychology. That was like really my natural gift. I understood people. And one of the things that changed as I got to a particular point, I guess, going through many different business models. I was a DJ. I did construction for a little bit. When I first left school, I worked at McDonald's. I did all of this shit. And as I got to the back end of my 20s at 29, I knew I need to start to take money more seriously. And then I found the online space. It was actually Andrew Tate at the start. I joined Hustlers University because Andrew Tate came on the scene. Again, it was like, I'm not going to go into those details on this pod, but there was a reality of my life, complete 180, like flipped upside down. And I was like, I need to make sure that I'm never, ever fucking broke again. Andrew Tate come on. And I joined his Hustlers University. And it took me about 9 months. Consider this, actually. I joined Hustlers University November the 1st, 2022. I invested into a high-ticket sales program August the 1st, 2023. So through that first period, I did Etsy, I did e-com. I was in some networks of what now would be very clear to me to be an absolute fucking shit show. But the important steps that you have to go through to learn. And then because I was on Zoom all day anyway, and it was actually, shout out to this guy, because I probably never mentioned him, but it was Jack Hopkins. He was his online tag was the CEO of testosterone or some shit like that. Again, one of these manosphere kind of guys. His content popped up and he spoke about high ticket sales. And when he just laid it out in a video that was like, you're on Zoom, you have conversations, maybe they buy, maybe they don't. But if you do sell, you get commission. I was like, my calendar was filled up with Zoom events of people that would like connect with me for free. Like I'm just meeting up with people all the time, connecting, giving value. And I'm like, oh my days, I can do that, get paid, and not be the business owner, so I'm not wearing all the hats. Sign me up. No names. Joined a community, the same one that you joined, Gary, and then fucking that was it, man. It was like 6 months. I was like, yeah, fucking hell. There is a lot more that I've got to bring to this industry than it's got to give me, so I must stay in it and I must change it. That was kind of the path.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I realized that pretty quickly also that realistically, yes, I could sell, right? I'd go in anywhere and sell product. But my actual need in this world, you know, my place of being on earth was to help people be able to sell, the people that couldn't sell in the way that I could. Because honestly, I didn't like to sell. Like, I didn't like the 10, 12-hour days of just sitting in meeting after meeting and taking objections and stuff. I wanted to help other people be able to do that and become financially free themselves. And that's kind of where we ended up today, right? Like, it's not, everybody has their own purpose in life. And I think my purpose was not to sit in the hot seat all the time and really just focus on communities that needed the help.
Yeah, you're bringing up a good point here, because I do think, when I think about it, and as more of this, I guess, becomes public, even if that's through us, the standards in this industry are ridiculously low. Right? So there's a lot of people, what I'm doing day in, day out, week in, week out, is helping people frame their experience of what they actually have done, even if they don't think they've ever sold, that transfers directly to the behaviors, the characteristics, the skill sets that you need in sales. But there's a lot of people that aren't cut out for sales. They're just not going to make it. Yeah, like, I would say for me, I'm good. I'm very good. But in these environments, I can't be the best. And I'm okay to admit that. And the reason I can't be the best is because I don't love it the same way I love everything else that I can bring. And in my story, this is normally at one point, right now, if I was on a class in a Zoom, I'd be like, guys, check out my PDF in the chat. And it's a highlight reel. And you basically see I join companies, I start selling, and then rapidly get promoted to some kind of management or leadership role, because that's where my skills are. So I think another caveat to people that are like, I don't know about sales. There's many people we're working with. They're not supposed to be selling, but they're selling because it gets their foot in the door in this industry of how to make money online, how to survive the future. And then you find another role through the space that you end up doing something else. And I think that's aligned with you, Gary. I think that's the same thing. You kind of do what I call the rite of passage. You come in, you do the dials. This is an important part about me and Gary. Me and Gary aren't like, oh, we met each other in the space. We come from the soil, and we're growing through the space together. But we will do the 300 times a day and actually hit the numbers. And then naturally you progress into different positions. One of them is even just sat on this podcast to do this with authority, with credibility. Because even though it doesn't sound too long, it's been about 3 years in the online space for me. That's a fucking eternity when the space really is 6 years old. Because we're in 2026. Because it really only kicked off in 2020. Remember before 2020, Gary, what the fuck was Zoom?
Yeah, we didn't barely ever use that, you know. Every meeting I had was sitting in a boardroom with high executives, you know. Now it's, you know, everybody operates off of Zoom or Teams or whatever it is, you know. So, I mean, and like you said, you've been in for 3 years. I've been in like 2.5. It wasn't much, you know, after you came into the space that I showed up. So it's still fresh, and it's growing. It is massively growing, and there's still going to be, there's so much opportunity if you know where to hit it and find it. So,
yeah, there's no shortage of opportunity. There's no, like, this is one thing also just as we're flowing. two main things I see people might like mentally believe before they come into this industry. One, it's going to be, actually let's add a third. Let's say this first. They think it's going to be easy, right? Because it's marketed to be easy, right? Because when you're marketing the ballpoint of the pen, right? You're seeing the tip of the pen, and you're seeing what can be produced. Yeah, that sounds great. I want a part of that. But when you forget the production and productivity and energy and effort and input required, and even if you're really good, the environment that's required for you to actually start earning 5 figures and beyond, all the things that actually come into it. So most people learn that hard and fast. Secondly, they think that they might not be skilled enough. There is people out there right now in high ticket sales, respectfully, that are shit. Yeah, they are shit. And I say that respectfully, I mean that. They're not good, but they're still earning money. They're still earning money. There's people out there that might not be. I had this with some boys. They visited me recently, Gary, some of the cliff diver boys. And the guy was like, well, I don't know if I could ever do sales. I'm an introvert. And I'm like, introverts are probably the best sales reps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure they are. 100%.
Yeah. You don't have to be... Someone said to me, I said, I'm an introvert. And he said, I don't think you are, Charlie. And I was like, you see me now, and I'm energetic, I'm free, I'm authentic, but I don't like to spend too much time with people. Like, truly in my core, I'm an introvert. I'm like a hermit. So I am an introvert, and that's why I understand people at a deep level of empathy. So those sort of people likely right now are in jobs that are, I bet you there's some nurses, there's some people that are already on the phones, if you're used to the phone environment, like take appointments, receptionists. Some people out there would be absolute killers in this space with a little bit of training and guidance with the right teams. So like that's to be considered. And I'd say the third point people like misconceive that this industry brings is beyond the industry. It's what their expectation is of how quickly things happen for them. Like, oh yeah, no. For me, naively, this is the mistake that I made. August the 1st, 2023. I was saying to my partner, babe, this is a funny story. I said to her, yeah, I just invested $2,500. That was half down. It was a $5,000 in Great British pounds, so it's about $6,200. And I put 2.5 Great British pounds down. And I come out of the room, I was like, just invested half into this program, I'm going to make this work. She was like, she was sheer like, what the fuck? And I was like, look, trust me. Yeah, this is it. I was like Michael Jackson ready for his tour. I was like, this is it. Yeah, this is it. And what I thought was, I'm going to be so intense here. I'm going to be 90-hour weeks minimum. I'm going to be so locked in. I'm good. It's going to be fine. Right? And then she also said, we could buy a car with that. You know, we could buy a car with that. I was like, babe, how about we earn enough money to buy a car every month? Yeah? Let's do that. And anyway, got to December, because I said, oh, we'll be earning 10K before the new year. Got to December, and I was like, oh, my days.
We ain't there yet, huh?
We ain't there yet. And the reality, it's not because I wasn't working hard or I wasn't even skilled enough. It was I didn't have the awareness to seek the opportunities that would enable me to do that. So I had to go through the rite of passage. And therein lies, I guess, one of the first, chapter 1, the openings of the reality of the space. It doesn't actually matter how good you are, right? Or how good you think you are. You have to walk the path and realize where not to go. And I'm sure you have your fair share. And I know it, Gary, because I don't know about before. Was the community that we were in the first step into high ticket sales for you?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was definitely the first step. And, you know, I took an offer, to be very transparent. I made it on my first offer 9 days. And funny story, I know Charlie knows this story, but I took this position as a closer, and they gave me a 9-page script. They wanted me to memorize it. I wasn't allowed to use the script on calls. Like, it was crazy. And I had most of it memorized, but I would veer off because I'm naturally just a person that just has a conversation with somebody, right? Like that's just how I am. Find out what the need is, find out what the problem is, see if I can solve it. If I can't solve it, I move on to the next one, right? That's just how and they did not want me off that script. And I'm like, well, like, I don't know. And I was sitting there one afternoon, and all of a sudden I got logged out of Zoom. I got logged out of Slack. I just disappeared. They didn't say nothing to me, nothing. I was just out, right? Like, that is how cutthroat it is. And that was the realization of, like, kind of what Charlie says. You have to walk that right path, because if you don't, you have to find, A, people you can stand to work with, B, a product that you stand behind, and C, you need, to have the passion to be able to sell that product and in an environment that allows you to be, fruitful. Because if you don't believe in a product, you're not going to sell it. It's just the end of the story. I mean, you're going to get some, low-hanging fruit here and there, but overall, when you get in those hard conversations, if they don't feel the belief in you, they're not going to buy. And I was in the B2B space most of my journey, and it's very tough to not be able to sell that product if you don't believe in it.
Yeah, that was the thing that really wound me up about that situation with you, because this is another thing. Some people can do very, very well in sales, and then they naturally, which makes sense, and again, I want to make this very clear early on and continue this theme. It's like, this isn't a judgment per se, but these are observations and realities. This is a lot of what I talk about on my streams also. It's like, I'm not here to judge per se, apart from the natural judgment humans make of each other naturally. It's like, these are the observations. You do very well in sales. That's partnered with great success, if you like, on social media. If anyone knows who you are on social media, you're kind of doing better than most. So if you start to build a little bit of an audience, start to give you an environment to run an offer that's selling some high-ticket product, but you miss all the other skills. And this is, I think, the advantage if you've been born, say, for example, let's say before 2000. Yeah, so if you're born before 2000, you grew up in a different era and beyond to that, where you've got these other skills, natural leadership. You've probably run a few businesses before all this online stuff come out. So you've got all these other skills. This is at least my story. And because I was working with you, I was reviewing your calls, there was a big switch up for Gary and me, because the community that I was coaching in, it was very B2C based sales. It was very universal. I was doing my best to make it clear to people, like, look, I can only teach you in this way here, of this format that makes sense for everyone. Basically, the product that we were selling was what everyone invested into. So it gave like common ground. But when you get out there, it can be completely different. And that was exactly the same thing that happened to Gary. It's like, got on an offer, complete shifted up. And Gary started to make these changes rapidly. Like, it was actually improving. I was like, instead of like, hey, how you doing this week, Gary? What do you need? It was like, Gary, you're in there now, bro. Like, this is it, man. This is the real shit. We actually were sending voice notes, I think. I think it was me doing call reviews on the Loom. I was like, this is it, bro. This is the real shit. And you were progressing and growing. And like you said, like, you can wake up one day and you're kicked out of everything. No communication. They don't let you know. And this is the thing that, like, winds me up. You can say, because you can say, that's the game. But then on the downside, this is why my book, Fuck Sales, that's like still in production. There's many different like meanings to that. But it's like, I'm not here just in high ticket sales boxed in. I don't care about most of the guys in this industry. I'm a guy with integrity, authenticity. I care about roles, accountability, communication, trust, like the principles I base relationships on for business. And when people don't communicate, they just fuck you off on the team. When you're working, when you're showing up, when you're doing hard work, like, to me, therein lies some of the standards, what drives me, what I'm passionate about, to raise in this industry, because so many people are on the scalding end of that. What do you call that thing? That fucking...
The prod?
Yeah, like you burn, like they did it on Jackass with Bam before, like when it burns you, yeah, like I can't remember what it's called, like embroidery.
Yeah, the
cattle prod type of thing.
Yeah, it's like
it feels like that.
I can't remember what it's called, but one of those mornings, I guess.
Yeah, you got absolutely. I'm just gonna call it embroidered.
I got shafted, dude. That is exactly what I got. I got shafted so hard. I didn't know which way to go. And to be honest with you, like, as big as my ego can be sometimes, it brought me down to another level, you know? And that's probably why, you know, when I came into that last offer I did with you, right? I mean, I made it there a little bit longer than you did, but I was successful there because I learned very quickly and I adapted. And how many sales guys did that guy hire that he fired because they couldn't do it?
Yeah.
You know, and it was one of those things that, like, I learned, I figured it out, and I just kept moving through the paces until, you know, we started closing deals. And I think I want to say I closed my first deal in like 3 or 4 days after I started on the phones. Like, I was setting and closing my own deals at that point, and that was tough too. You know, the mental switch between setting and closing is difficult. You know, and you know, luckily we had our own, you know, AI that set it for us, but in the long term. But you know, I learned quick, and we were selling, and that was the goal. But inconsistency of bad leadership, things like that, kind of drove us all out of there, right? So that's the hard part of high ticket sales, is how do you manage that? How do you navigate those offers to make sure that you are in the right fit, you're under the right leadership? Because if not, your success is only as long as, you know, you can handle it, essentially.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue, because the biggest difference here, we've spent most of, even if you think the last 100 years, right? Corporate, right? You was in corporate. Would you consider that you was in corporate?
No, I was in corporate for quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
Most of my career after I finished my master's degree. Yeah.
I wasn't, but I'm obviously aware of it. So, corporate. Why most people don't want to be in corporate is because of the upsides of what they can get: traveling, earning through a laptop, using their skills, getting more freedom, earning more money. Like, all the potential is there away from corporate.
Right.
But the downside let me say this. Corporate has an upside in some form. It can give you more security, potentially. We all know what happened in 2020, right? And like how the world was flipped upside down. But let's say, stereotypically, it can give you more stability. It offers you more safety because there's so much regulation in it. You can't even like say, "Hey, Janet, you look great today." It's like HR comes in, right?
You're fired.
Yeah, it's like there's sexual harassment. There's all that kind of. That's probably a downside for a lot of it. But then at the same time, you've got things like unfair dismissal. They can't just get rid of you. There's like loads of clock in, clock out. You don't really need to pay attention. You get your stable income. It can be okay. You can get it, especially this was what was funny also. I was talking about this the other day. Not many high ticket sales offers or companies offer benefits like corporate would do. The team that we were on, Gary, actually did offer dental benefits, which was hilarious because when I was going through all the applicants, there was at least a handful of them that had no teeth, right?
Yeah, I remember that. That was crazy. Like, the people are just looking to get their teeth fixed, you know? Like, bro, come on.
Yeah, they weren't interested in the role. They were interested in the dental benefits. So
I mean, I think anybody who's been in the corporate space knows you're just trading your time for your money.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's you go in 8 to 5, your hour lunch, and you go home every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mom's a great example of that, right? Like, she clocks in 1 minute late. She doesn't get paid for 15 minutes.
Oh, that's
right.
Shit,
I'd be like, bro, I'm not clocking in then until 7:15 or whatever, you know, time her start is, right? Like, even though she works in an office, in a corporate office, like, she's punching a clock like that. Now, luckily for me, most of the positions I was in was not that way. I was more of a salaried position. I worked my hours. If I worked 20 hours or 50 hours, I got paid the same, right? It had its positive benefits, but most of those weeks I was working 70 plus hours. Like, I was working 10-hour days, 12-hour days, just depending. I had people all over the world contacting me about stuff, so I was getting messages at 2, 3 in the morning, stuff like that. So the high ticket space, I think the biggest, what everybody wants is freedom, right? To be able to do what they want. Just like me, right? I've got young kids in sports. So I guess they're not super young anymore, but they're in sports. Like, I had to be at a baseball game at 9:00 yesterday morning, right? Like, in my corporate job, I would have had to take PTO. I would have missed time. I still would have been getting emails. They still would have expected me to check my emails on my phone, all that, even though I'm on PTO, right? In this space, I don't have to do that. I don't have to worry about it. I could shut that phone off and move on. Like, if I want to answer something, because I'm not trading my time for money anymore. I'm trading my time for freedom, essentially, to do what I want, when I want, how I want. And I think that was the biggest catch for me in this space. I also didn't want to go to an office. I didn't want to drive an hour each way to an office every week or every day. It just, there's a lot of benefits to high ticket sales, and there's always that one thing I think that catches somebody of why they want to get into it, whether they're in car sales right now or they're in life insurance sales or whatever they're in. They're really trying to find that freedom, right? And they can't because they don't know where to go or how to do it properly.
Yeah, well, say that one more time for me.
They specifically do not want to know how to get into high ticket sales effectively to be successful because they don't know where to go or what to do, right?
Yeah.
They're just, they don't know how to get out of that 9 to 5 pattern, right? Because there is times, especially in the B2C world, where you do have to work at off-peak hours to get those sales, right? Like, you know this, Charlie. I mean, obviously, you're across the world from where I'm at right now, right? So you working till 3 in the morning is more normal than me working till 5 o'clock, right? It's just a different world and where people live and what you're willing to put in and what you're going to get out. Where in your 9 to 5, you could put nothing in and still get paid, So
yeah, and sometimes it's going to be inevitable how you start. But what was funny, someone said to me the other day, which I found hilarious. I find the humor in everything. But he messaged me, he goes, Charlie, do you think it would be good if, I kind of present myself and say, I'm willing to do the first month for free, to kind of stand out. And I was like, bitch, everyone's working for free in high ticket sales. Yeah. You're not any different there. Everyone that is working on commission only is working for free. Now, when you get good, you learn how to negotiate. This is what happens if you work with decent people. You start to learn how to negotiate. You will learn this yourself if you continue to stick in the industry. But yeah, you can negotiate base salaries. You know what offers are actually going to give you the runway for you to succeed, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff comes with experience. But at the start, you said something interesting there, which was start effectively. There is a better way to start, but there is always going to be drama, mistakes, pain, failures. Especially now, there's a lot of people that have entered into high ticket sales. The exceptions are out there. And they do 5 figures in their first month. Yeah, but there's something else about them. Yeah, so they've got they've got an unbelievably sexy face. Something just works for them, and they're paired with the team that just enables to do that, with a team that's basically got everything organized already. It's a fucking lay down. But for the most people, damn right, you're going to be in the industry as pawns on the chessboard, where someone can just use you, fine. This is your role. Follow these instructions. Fulfill these KPIs. Even if the sales process is absolutely disastrous and chaotic, which is 90% of the time, And then you've got, I mean, not to mention like anything else that might be going on in the marketing that makes the leads incredibly hard to work with. The point is you're thrown in at a deep end and you're thrown into like a pit of cactus. And that is normal. The more that you embrace that to be normal, the sooner and more equipped you are to deal with it. So you can start effectively, you can get the right guidance, but you're always, unless you come in with some decent base level skills, someone like me, there was loads of things that I had already. There was loads of different things, not just time on earth, but like all my previous skills. Some people are coming in fresh, so they are going to learn through what I call the necessary mistakes because they lead to mastery. But damn right, you've got to find the shit teams, and this is the staircasing I talk about in classes. You've got to get on the first step and then climb those steps fast rather than trying to be on like the sixth step. You can't do that. You can't just try to get to a 10K a month role. You have to get into a position, if you've got nothing, that enables you to say, I've done at least 1,000 dials in a week. So the next team, higher quality, will hire you. And then when you do that team, I beat every single setter on that team. And then so forth. But no matter what, it's kind of ugly to get started, always. And I think, if anything, one of the inspirations for this podcast is to give people the rawness of it, rather than just the glitz and glory. Because even when I was selling, Gary, I don't know if you remember this from like my philosophy, we are so responsible for client success on the sale and the marketing. But like, I've never done the marketing. So sales, if I was selling you, Gary, I'd be like, Gary, by the way, you willing to eat shit for the next 10 years? And if you said no, I'd be like, I don't think you should do this. I really don't.
Sure. It's like the farmer that has young kids, right? Like, I think high ticket space kind of relates to this, right? Is you start mucking stalls at a young age, you start tending to the chickens, those types of things. And then as you get older, you start plowing the field, driving the equipment, things like that, right? When I came into the space, when I joined that coaching program that you were coaching me, right? Back then, I was like, I'm going to be a closer right off the rip. Now, I did land that closing role right off the rip, right? Like, I did do that because of my skill set from previous things, right? And yes, I was smacked in the face pretty hard. But I realized very quickly that my next role should be a setter role, right? And I did setting for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months before I went back into another closing role, right? And I think that time allowed me, kept me busy, kept me building skill, building like all those types of things. But I had to humble myself internally that I was good enough to be a setter before I went back into closing. Because I'll be honest, when I was 19, working in that insurance office, that's all I did. Was I wasn't licensed at the time, like when I originally started. So I was just calling. I built this massive ass pipeline, like, I mean, legit pipeline, like they had never seen, and they were closing deals left and right. And then I got licensed, and I'm like, well, maybe I don't need to call these people anymore. But I learned very quickly I had to, right? Like, it's just one of those things. And then years went by and I wasn't selling anymore. And then when I went back in, like, I really learned that setting is, if you can't set, you can't sell. Because setting is the base bone of this process. And if you can't hook a person hard enough to get them to come to that closing call, you're not going to be successful long term. You just aren't. And that's why every person should understand setting and be able to do it. Because there is times, like, if you're slow, you got to be able to go in there and set some stuff for yourself, because your setters may be dialing the same number 40 times a day. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Things happen, right? You know, and I think you could relate to that, Charlie. Like, there was weeks I was dialing close to $2,000 a week just to set appointments for myself, you know? So.
Yeah, there's also one of the things that happens with the heavy marketing of closing and high ticket closes. I was never a fan of that word. I if anything, started to rechange that verbiage on the teams that I would lead. It's like, we're openers, if anything. There's always a paradox. There's always an inversion. I don't like the term closer. I'm not here to close you. I'm here to open you up. I'm here to make sure that this is a conversation that you're not having anywhere else. It's effective enough that I serve you, that you naturally are purchasing. So that kind of closer heavy marketing, closer. It might be out there in many different ways for people, but typically it's I'm going to sit around, there's going to be calls landing on my calendar, I'm going to close those deals, and I'm going to make $1,000 per close, right? That's what it is perceived as. But the reality is very far from that. You can earn that position. You earn money. Everything's earned, so you can earn yourself into that position. But the people that come in, unfortunately, without the right expectation, have to learn the hard way after they've purchased, which is one of the most damaging things I think the industry needs to educate themselves on. I don't care who you point at in this industry. I don't care what sales guru you look at. I don't know anyone, not like I pay attention to all of them, I don't know anyone that emphasizes the importance of what you do on the sale to actually get success for the client on the product or the service. And you can do that by over-exaggerating how hard it would be, give it to them like raw and real, so there isn't that shock factor that so many people get. Like, oh shit, I didn't think it was going to be this hard. My question to that is, who closed you? You know, who closed you? Because I always feel they didn't do you well because they're probably just focused on closing the deal. I understand the game, but I don't align with it. So when people come in and they're like, oh, I just want to get to a closer role fast. Man, it's like, if you want to get to a closer role, why? Because you want to earn money? Setters can do 5 figures a month. You have you have to learn the skill. You actually have to be in the seat to say that you've done something. Because everyone that tries to skip something, there's a lot of people in the industry that skip work and actually experience and jump to something that they haven't done. And you get found out very quickly. One of the things that I love is when people put me on the spot. There was a kid recently that is in one of my classes on some kind of group interview role play. And he was like, I was like, you can choose anyone else that you can revive that didn't make it. And he's like, I'm actually looking to choose you. And basically I give people 60 seconds. And I'm like, cool, I'm on the spot. He's like, puts me on the spot. And it's like, if I can't actually handle that moment or I fall apart, then the whole demeanor of me actually being good, me actually having the experience, me actually speaking from wisdom goes out the window. That is happening a lot. People don't have that. And it's because they miss the hard work. Even if you do it for a week, you have to be able to say that you've did it. And it tells me a lot about someone, if I'm a hiring manager, that you're looking to skip the work. You want an easy ride because sales, you're in the wrong industry, if that's what you want. Sales is all about how proficient you can be with your time, how much initiative you have, how much kind of you self-solve on your own. There's a lot in sales that's like, don't come to me with your fucking problems that you can use ChatGPT for. Like, how do you open up? I get a lot of this. Yeah. How do I start a Loom account? I'm like, I literally got a message templated on my snippets. It's called low leverage message. And this message will come up with a Loom link I've created for people that are like, stupid. I'm like, you have to understand, you revealed to me that you don't know how to solve basic problems. You're fucked. Yeah?
Yeah, where's the auto refund button so you don't have to deal with it anymore? You know, like, I mean, and that's the thing. We're in 2026, right? Computers have been out since I was in like first or second grade, so like 30 years probably, 25 years, let's just say. And there's people that don't know the simple operations of a computer. How the hell are you going to survive in an online space where the only thing you use is a computer to do the job, right? Like, I mean, I don't know. It's wild. Like, it is absolutely wild. You work with, what, like 25 communities right now? What would you say percentage-wise of those students fall into a category of they're not going to make it because they're just clueless?
Well, Gary, I'm so glad you asked, because that brings us to this section of the show. It's the question of the week. I'm going to ask you a question, you're going to ask me a question, and I'm going to answer your question first. Okay, here's the reality of the situation. Not only do I can just tell you from experience, but I can tell you from the data.
Right.
Less than 1% of people, first of all, are on track doing their applications to secure roles. Mm-hmm. There's some discrepancies. We could make a few arguments as to why that is, because of the way that certain things could be set up. But even when I look in each community, and I go to the KPIs and I see who's applying or not, and I say this conservatively, yeah, it's like I say this to actually be generous. It's no more than 3% of people that actually apply to roles. So that tells me everything in the data. It's like, oh, you won't apply to roles. Even though, like, I've got hundreds of hours of classes, you've got every strategy. Oh my days, you've got a job board. Guys, you've got a fucking job board. Yeah, when me and Gary started this industry, there's no job boards. Fucking hell.
No, there wasn't.
No job boards. There's no thousands of opportunities at your fingertips in a system and a software. Shout out fucking Jackson here. That's been designed to make your life incredibly easy. No. And you're still not applying? Well, that tells me two things. One, who's not going to make it? Two, I know the why. I know the why. This is what I break down in the classes. I'm not going to give away too much game here, but it's time and energy, what people do with it. So most people won't make it by default because most people can't follow the rules. Two main rules. One rule of success is stay focused, don't quit. That's rule one of success. The formula to understand how to succeed is also in time plus energy equals results. And people don't know where their time goes, and they're depleted of energy because it's basically burnt on dopamine. So 3% of people will probably make it. And then within, I'd say, let me give a 10% total. The other 7%, they'll do okay, but eventually they will wither away. It won't make sense. But 3% of people is still thousands of people. You know? So
well, hopefully they change that. You know, hopefully they watch this and they start to change those numbers for you, because that's crazy. 3%, 1%. Like, you got a lot of students that want to be in this space that, you know, they're not being, I guess, effective with their time.
yeah. I mean, this is something that's becoming clear to me. It's society. It's where society's at. It's the cars will drive themselves for you. You've got Netflix, you've got fast food, you've got all this stuff. And more importantly, for me, I'm in a room with a bulletproof door. I talk about this all the time. I'm literally locked in Eastern Europe in a house where, apart from my coffee that will be brought into my room in just a moment, no one comes into my room, nothing's happening, I'm locked in. Don't have any other shit going on. Even today was a bit of an unusual day. Shadow had a grass seed up his nose. He had to get sedated and get his grass seed pulled out his nose. So even shit with that, I'm on time to meet you. Like, nothing else is going on. It's like, you know, I'm a professional. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do what I need to do. Some people don't have that standard. So that right. Can be trained. This is an important thing. It can be trained, but coming in without it, if you're not willing to do the work, nothing, as much as I know I'm good, nothing I do is going to make a difference to someone that if they sleep 8 hours a night, you have 112 waking hours in the week, right? Yeah. 112. If I work with you on a live call, which is typically the case, for 1 hour a week, you've got 111 hours left. Most people won't even capitalize on building the connection and relationship in the DMs and so forth and so forth. But there is definitely a lot people can do to change and transform. And when you see the people that do make it, there's a kid we just worked with, landed a role in less than 2 weeks. He come in with no experience. He's 19 to 21. I can't remember how old he is, but he's like 19 to 21. Hungry. Again, like, expectations were set well. Mm-hmm. So hopefully that gives you an answer to your question. My question to you, Gary, is when you understand through the experience coming in this industry, what's the biggest Like, kind of, what's the biggest takeaway knowing what you know now compared to what you anticipated coming into it? What's your, like, nugget of wisdom there?
I think my nugget of wisdom there is patience. I think if you don't have patience in this industry, it's going to be tough because the road is not a straight road. There's curves, there's bumps, there's hills. You don't know what's set in front of you. You don't know what today's going to bring. You don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. You got to be able to fight fire with, water. There's always going to be something that you have to persevere through. And if you're not patient as you go through this process and become successful, it will get easier over time for sure. But it's because you understand how to deal with those obstacles. And in the beginning, you don't, right? And kind of going back to my question to you, it gives you those people that aren't putting 100% in all the time, it's going to take them a lot longer to understand that concept. And when the reality is they're going to fizzle out because they don't want to put the time in to be able to get there. And I think, I think the key term here is patience. My patience is, I guess, because I'm a father, is insane at this point. But when I was 19, I didn't have patience. I was running with the seat of my pants on fire all the time, right? So if I did this back then, I probably wouldn't have been as successful as I have been now long term. But, yeah. That's, I guess I hope that answers your question.
Well, interesting, the etymology of it. You've got the word pay in it. Yeah. Patience, pay attention, payments. Like, etymology is a great study for anyone that wants to understand language, communication, sales, all that stuff. But yeah, patience is one of the biggest things because slow is fast. You notice that on a sales call. You'll notice that you have to be quick, yes, but slow is fast. You can't rush. So that can look different in many different scenarios. If you're looking to secure your first opportunity, you might not want to take the first one, right?
Yeah,
you might not want to take the one that's like, we haven't interviewed you, we don't know about you, there's a slot open on Monday, do you want to start? It's like a little bit.
They're just desperate.
Yeah.
They're just desperate at that point, and they're just putting 20 bodies in the room to see who falls over first,
Emotional, damn it. Yeah, and that's literally what will happen. Like, they are using
100%.
It's almost in, I guess, Toy Story is the picture that comes to my mind. I think it was Toy Story 3, but they're almost going into that incinerator. And then they're going into that big garbage disposal thing that burns all the garbage. High ticket sales can be like that, right? But if you've seen, I don't know, I'm in movies. I see a lot in movies, but there's a movie recently called Mickey 17, and he basically respawns. There's this like respawn ability. They chuck him in this burn hole, and Mickey 17 is basically the one that doesn't go down the burn hole again. He refuses to go down. He knows, he's aware that he can die and then get respawned, and they send him on missions to do certain things. But Mickey 17, which would be the 17th individual, he refuses to go down that burn hole and survives, and ends up being a little bit crazy because they've already respawned a version of him. But the metaphor lies, what lies in that metaphor is, you're going to respawn a lot in this game. If you churn and burn and you actually get burnt out in the first fucking opportunity, that's actually a good thing, right? If you're that individual, it's a good thing because you're never going to make it anyway. But those that understand the game are going to make it. Those that understand how to think long term are going to make it. And there is too many opportunities in this space right now, too many grand problems that need solutions that won't be solved by the majority of people. So we need the minority to enter. If anything, here we go into this last section, Gary, as we're doing the last 5 here. What I'm looking for is people that we've done enough to reveal this ain't going to be easy. This is going to be hard. You've got to understand where the sharks are. You've got to understand there's actually, and I say this without holding back, there is fucking scumbags out there in this industry because there's scumbags out in the world. It's just what it is. Specifically now when you can be an unbelievably wealthy individual, not wealthy, maybe rich, and be a degenerate streamer. You can just do nothing for the world and be rich. We have to understand the climate and the time that we're in 2026 and where we're going with AI. So what I'm calling for is, first of all, to raise the standards in this industry as I do it, but the people that are in that minority, that have good hearts, that have souls, that have experience, that might just, and we know a lot of them, Gary, they might not have found the right leaders initially, but then they eventually stumble across good communities and groups. Right. Dare I say, like ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, there's my message. I think the ultimate goal and purpose of this pod is the raw conversations that kind of change. The format's a little bit different, but it's not far off the conversations we have anyway. We're just missing out specifics, certain information we can't disclose. But what's to come, Gary, as I ask you this? What's to come from this pod?
A change in the environment, a change in the high-ticket space. And honestly, our goal is to put more people in the space that have that fire and can take the wisdom of me and Charlie to the next level and be successful. And, you know, as they say, live on the beach and sell whatever you want. You know, that's the ultimate goal. And I know that's a dream that everybody has, but not saying everybody will be able to get to that point, but we want to get as many people there as we can that have the drive and the passion too. And, you know, I think the rawness of this podcast is going to really open up the eyes of a lot of people, that is going to allow them to maybe, you know, kick themselves in the ass and get moving to where they want to go and hit those goals. So, you know, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. If you're watching this on Spotify, go ahead and, you know, hit that follow button. But, you know, if you're looking for rawness in this high ticket space, me and Charlie are here to just, you know, give you no BS type of, you know, information and how we can help. You can reach out to us. There'll be links down below to our Discord. There'll be links to, you know, email us at talk@highticketsnails.com. And we're here to help how we can, but we just want to get the information out there in front of people.
Yeah, and I would end on this. If you've got questions, say, for example, you're not in the industry, you've got questions, talk@highticketsnails.com. Or if you've got stories because you're in the industry and you're interested in, it doesn't even need to be a guest spot. You can send in your stories, your experiences. One thing I would love to do is that, because speaking about it just from us, there's a lot we can talk about. We could do 1,000 episodes, no problem. But
yeah, for sure.
Other people's stories add to the reinforcement and credibility of like the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you've got stories, talk@highticketsnails.com, and that's where you'll find us. So as Gary said, find us on those platforms. We're available every single where that's convenient. We're working on that. And as always, a traditional bicep flex and pose from Charlie as he leaves. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you, Gary, man. I'm looking forward and I'm excited to see what happens with this natural format of communication.
Yeah, I appreciate you. We'll see you every Monday, and peace out, everybody.
Peace.